The Silent Ascension. The Archean Dominion had ruled the local cluster for 17 millennia. Their massive ships traversed the void between stars with casual ease, their technology the envy of 100 vassal species. They had seen it all before, the awe of primitive races when massive Archean vessels descended from their skies, the grateful subservience when offered protection from the harsh realities of galactic politics. It was always the same story. Until Earth. Admiral Elena Reyes stood motionless on the command deck of the EFSS Prometheus, the flagship of humanity's hidden fleet. Through the viewport, the vast darkness of the Kuiper Belt stretched before her, dotted with the running lights of over 300 warships, vessels that officially didn't exist. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension coursing through her body. Commander Jackson stepped forward, tablet in hand. "All ships report ready, Admiral. The Archean scout vessel has crossed the heliopause and is approaching Neptune's orbit. Their sensors are active but operating exactly as intelligence predicted. They're only seeing what we want them to see." Reyes nodded, and the surface narrative. Proceeding as planned. The United Earth government is continuing the charade of a fractured political landscape with limited spacefaring capabilities. The lunar colony is transmitting the designated primitive communications, and Mars Outpost is maintaining the appearance of a struggling frontier settlement. For 30 years, humanity had kept its greatest secret, while the world believed space exploration had stagnated after the early Mars missions. A shadow program had made an exponential leap forward. The accidental discovery of the gravitational inversion drive in 2087 had changed everything, giving humanity true faster-than-light capability a century before most species achieved it naturally. Instead of announcing this breakthrough, Earth's leaders had made a fateful decision. Keep it hidden, build in secret, prepare for the inevitable first contact with an advanced civilization. History and probability suggested such contact rarely favored the less advanced species. "The Archean vessel has deployed atmospheric probes to Earth," announced Lieutenant Chen from the sensor station. "They're performing standard reconnaissance patterns." Reyes allowed herself a small smile. "Let them look. Everything they see will confirm what they expect to find. Another pre-FTL civilization, ripe for integration." The Archean Dominion's expansion strategy was well documented by the covered human observation posts that had been monitoring their activities for years. Find developing worlds, offer technological scraps in exchange for resources and obedience, gradually absorb them into their empire as client states with no real autonomy. "Admiral," Jackson said quietly, "are we certain this deception is necessary? The Archeans haven't shown direct hostility to primitive worlds." Reyes turned to face her second-in-command. "No, Commander. They don't need to show hostility. They simply arrive, overwhelmed with technological superiority, and present the illusion of choice. Their integration is cultural and economic annihilation under the guise of benevolent guidance. We've seen the outcome on 12 other worlds." Their conversation was interrupted by a communications alert. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command, Admiral." On screen, the stern face of General Wei appeared. "Admiral Reyes, the Archean diplomatic vessel has requested landing permission at the Geneva complex. Their initial message follows expected protocols, offers of friendship, technological advancement, and protection. President Alvarez will begin the performance." "Understood, General. How long will you maintain the facade?" "The diplomatic team suggests 3 weeks. Long enough to seem genuinely interested in their offers while appearing appropriately awed and cautious. Too quick would seem suspicious. 3 weeks it is," Reyes confirmed. "We'll maintain position and continue Phase 2 preparations." As the transmission ended, Reyes turned back to the viewport. Beyond the hidden fleet, the stars beckoned, countless worlds where humanity might one day venture. But first, they needed to secure their position in a galaxy it had no idea what was coming. High Emissary Terek of the Archean Dominion adjusted his ceremonial vestments as the diplomatic shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere. after 5,000 cycles of service to the Dominion. He had overseen 37 integration ceremonies. This one would be no different. Analysis of the human infrastructure, he asked his aide. Primitive but orderly, emissary. They've achieved basic fusion power, rudimentary orbital facilities, and have small outposts on their moon and neighboring planet. Their global communication network is comprehensive, but uses antiquated electromagnetic transmission. Military capabilities are limited to chemical explosives and crude orbital defensive platforms. Terek nodded, 6 eyes blinking in sequence, a gesture of satisfaction. Perfect. Category 3 civilization with minimal space presence. Standard integration protocols will apply. The shuttle's landing thrusters engaged as they approached a large circular platform in what humans called Switzerland. A delegation of Earth's leaders waited below, dressed in what Terek assumed were their finest ceremonial garments. Remember, he instructed his team, Project Benevolent Superiority. They must understand that resistance is futile but cooperation is rewarded. As they disembarked, Terek noted the barely concealed awe on the humans' faces. This was always his favorite part, the moment when a species realized they were no longer alone in the universe, that they were but children in a cosmic community. People of Earth, he began, his translator converting his harmonics into the dominant human language. I bring greetings from the Archean Dominion, guardians of peace and prosperity across 12,000 worlds. We come not as conquerors, but as guides to shepherd your species into a greater galactic community. President Isabella Alvarez stepped forward, her expression a careful mixture of wonder and diplomatic composure. Emissary Terek, Earth welcomes you with open arms and open minds. Your arrival fulfills our ancient dream of contact with intelligent life beyond our world. The ceremony continued with practiced precision, gifts exchanged, promises made, subtle implications of the consequences of refusal embedded within flowery diplomatic language. Throughout it all, Terek observed the humans closely. They seemed appropriately impressed, suitably grateful for the Dominion's attention, and displayed the expected nervousness of a species confronting its cosmic insignificance. Later, as the human delegation guided them through a tour of Earth's most advanced space center, Terek felt the familiar satisfaction of encountering a civilization that posed no threat to Archean supremacy. This is our most sophisticated propulsion system, explained Dr. Amara Okafor, Earth's lead scientist, gesturing to what appeared to be a basic ion drive. We can achieve interplanetary travel, but it takes months to reach Mars. The Archean scientists exchanged glances of thinly veiled amusement. Such technology was obsolete by Dominion standards 10,000 years ago. You will find our gravitic displacement drives quite impressive. Then, Terek said magnanimously, what takes you months will take mere hours with even our simplest vessels. Dr. Okafor's eyes widened with appropriate amazement. That would revolutionize our exploration capabilities. May I ask what powers such incredible technology? All in good time, Doctor, Terek replied. The integration process includes gradual technological sharing as your species demonstrates its readiness. That evening, as the Archean delegation retired to their accommodations, Terek composed his report to the Dominion Council. Standard Category 3 Civilization. Recommend full integration schedule with resource extraction to begin within 1 planetary rotation. No significant resistance anticipated. Estimate complete cultural assimilation within 5 standard cycles. 5 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean, in Command Center Epsilon, President Alvarez stripped off her diplomatic outfit and donned the uniform of the United Earth Space Command. I need a shower after all that simpering, she muttered to General Wei. How much longer do I need to play the starstruck primitive? Just 3 more weeks, Madam President, Wei replied, bringing up a holographic display of the solar system. Throughout it, hidden in asteroid fields, beneath the surfaces of moons, and in specially designed orbital blind spots, Earth's true fleet waited. Admiral Rise reports all vessels at combat readiness. The shipyards at Pluto, Europa, and Sarah's continue production at maximum capacity. Dr. Okafor joined them, her demeanor transformed from the wide-eyed scientist she had portrayed earlier to the sharp, focused inventor of Earth's gravitational inversion drive. Their technology is impressive but not insurmountable. Their gravitic displacement system is efficient but follows predictable patterns. Our phase-shifting capabilities should give us the edge in maneuverability. And their weapons? Asked Alvarez. Plasma-based energy weapons, quantum-reinforced hull plating, and standard kinetic barriers. Nothing our resonance cannons can't penetrate. They rely on overwhelming force rather than innovation, the hallmark of a species that hasn't faced a serious challenger in millennia. Alvarez studied the tactical display. The Archons believed Earth stood alone, a single inhabited planet with rudimentary technology. They had no idea that humanity had established hidden colonies throughout the solar system and beyond, or that human ships had been covertly studying the Dominion for years. "What about their fleet disposition?" she asked. General Wei expanded the holographic display. Their integration fleet remains at the edge of the solar system. 1 dreadnought, 4 cruisers, and supporting vessels. Standard procedure for integrating a pre-FTL civilization. They don't believe they need more. They're already drafting the integration treaty, added the intelligence director. Standard terms: we provide resources and obedience. They provide protection and scraps of outdated technology. They expect us to sign with gratitude in 3 weeks. President Alvarez's expression hardened. Then in 3 weeks, we'll show them humanity's true face. Maintain the deception until then. Let them believe we're just another primitive species to add to their collection. As the others departed, Alvarez remained, staring at the holographic representation of Earth surrounded by the hidden might of humanity's fleet. For 30 years, they had prepared for this moment, building in secret, advancing their technology, while maintaining the facade of a struggling pre-FTL civilization. Soon, she whispered to the empty room, "The galaxy will learn that humanity will never be anyone's vassal." Shattered expectations. The grand hall of the Geneva complex gleamed under ceremonial lighting. 3 weeks of careful diplomatic dancing had led to this moment, the signing of the integration treaty between Earth and the Archean Dominion. High Emissary Tarek stood resplendent in his full diplomatic regalia, flanked by Archean officials and guards. President Alvarez and Earth's delegation approached with appropriate solemnity. "Today marks a historic occasion," Tarek proclaimed, his translator conveying his harmonics into human speech. "The people of Earth take their first step into the greater galactic community under the guidance and protection of the Archean Dominion." The ceremony was being broadcast globally, or so the Archons believed. In reality, the transmission was carefully controlled, reaching only facilities that maintained the facade of Earth's primitive status. Deep beneath the oceans, buried within mountains, and hidden in orbital platforms, humanity's true infrastructure hummed with anticipation. President Alvarez stepped forward, the treaty document, an ornate crystalline tablet, presented before her. "The people of Earth are honored by the Dominions. Attention," she said, choosing her words carefully. Tarek's 6 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of satisfaction. Everything was proceeding as expected, as it had with dozens of species before. The humans would sign, the integration fleet would establish permanent presence in the system, and Earth would become another resource-rich vassal world. Alvarez raised her hand to the biometric scanner that would record her acceptance. Her finger hovered just above the surface. "Before we proceed," she said, her tone shifting subtly, "I believe there's been a misunderstanding about humanity's place in the cosmos." Tarek tilted his head. "Misunderstanding? The terms are quite clear, President Alvarez. The Dominion offers protection and guidance. In return, we surrender our autonomy and resources," Alvarez interrupted. "Yes, we understand the proposal. However, I think it's time we clarified something." She touched a concealed communicator at her wrist. "Admiral Rice, you may proceed." Confusion flickered across Tarak's features. Admiral, I was not aware Earth's primitive naval forces held such titles. The massive view screens around the hall, previously showing the ceremony, suddenly shifted to display the vastness of space. Throughout the solar system, vessels began decloaking. Hundreds of sleek warships emerging from hiding places in asteroid fields, from beneath the surfaces of moons, and from the shadow of planets. High Emissary, Alvarez said, her posture straightening as she shed the facade of deference. Allow me to introduce you to the United Earth Space Force. Not quite as primitive as you were led to believe. The blood drained from Tarak's face as the implications hit him. This is impossible. Our surveys detected no advanced technology, no spacefaring capabilities beyond rudimentary. Because that's what we wanted you to see, Dr. Okafor interrupted, stepping forward. Your scanning technology is impressive but predictable. We've been studying the Archean Dominion for 15 years. We know how you operate. On the screens, the massive form of the EFSA's Prometheus emerged from its hiding place in the Kuiper Belt, flanked by destroyers and cruisers. Admiral Rice stood on its command deck, her expression grim but satisfied. The Archean Integration Fleet has detected our presence, Madam President, Rice reported. They're powering weapons systems and raising shields. Tarak's composure shattered. This is treachery. The Dominion will crush your pathetic resistance. President Alvarez smiled thinly. I don't think so, Emissary. You might want to look more closely at the tactical situation. The screens showed the Archean Integration Fleet, impressive vessels by any standard, but now suddenly surrounded by more than 300 human warships that had appeared seemingly from nowhere. Impossible, whispered one of the Archean scientists. They would need faster-than-light technology to position a fleet of that size without detection. They can't have developed FTL without passing through the preceding technological stages we observed. And yet here we are, Dr. Okafor replied. The gravitational inversion drive, developed 30 years ago and kept secret precisely because we anticipated this encounter. Tarak's translator emitted a series of harsh clicks as he struggled to form words. You deceived us. Deliberately misrepresented your civilization's capabilities. Just as you misrepresented your intentions, Alvarez countered. We've observed your integrations on other worlds. Resource extraction, cultural erasure, technological dependency. Not integration. Subjugation. On the screens, the Archean Fleet commander's face appeared. Mandibles flared in anger. Unidentified vessels. This is High Commander Vorex of the Archean Dominion. Stand down immediately or face annihilation. Admiral Reyes stepped into frame. This is Admiral Elena Reyes of the United Earth Space Force. We have no hostile intentions, Commander, but we will not be intimidated. Your fleet is surrounded. Your weapons range is exceeded by ours, and our shields operate on principles your sensors cannot penetrate. You bluff. Vorex snarled. No pre-FTL civilization could develop such technology. That's where you made your critical error, Rice replied calmly. You assumed we would follow the same developmental path as other species. Humanity has a long history of technological leaps that skip expected stages of development. To demonstrate, she gave a signal. 3 human destroyers activated their phase-shifting technology, momentarily disappearing from normal space before reappearing inside the Archean formation, a maneuver that should have been impossible according to Archean understanding of physics. In the Geneva complex, Tarak watched in horror as the carefully constructed hierarchy of the galaxy crumbled before his eyes. What do you want? He finally asked, his voice barely audible. President Alvarez's expression softened slightly. Not what you fear, Emissary. If domination was our goal, this conversation would be very different. What we want is simple, recognition of Earth's sovereignty and our right to determine our own destiny. We're not interested in your resources or your territory, she continued. We seek alliance, not subjugation. True alliance between equals. The integration treaty you offered makes us vassals. We propose a different arrangement. With that, She produced a different document, one prepared in anticipation of this moment. The Sol-Archan Mutual Cooperation Agreement. Equal diplomatic standing, fair trade, cultural exchange, and technological collaboration where both sides benefit. Tarak stared at the document, then at the screens showing his outmatched fleet. For the first time in his 5,000-cycle career, he faced a species that had completely upended the established order. The Dominion Council will never accept such terms, he said, but his tone lacked conviction. They might, when they understand the alternative, Alvarez replied. Not war. We have no interest in conflict. But consider what happens when other species learn that the Archan Dominion isn't as technologically superior as they've been led to believe. Consider what happens when we share our advances with others who might chafe under Archan protection. The implication hung in the air like a blade. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Reyes maintained her calm as High Commander Vorex's dreadnought faced off against the Prometheus. Your ship designs are unlike anything in our database, Vorex admitted, curiosity overcoming his initial rage. How did you achieve phase shifting without destabilizing your molecular cohesion? Quantum entanglement reinforcement, Reyes replied simply. Your approach to FTL travel focuses on displacing space. Ours temporarily shifts our vessels partially out of conventional reality. Vorex's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but his voice betrayed respect. In 17,000 years, the Dominion has never encountered a species that developed such capabilities before making formal contact with the galactic community. Perhaps you've been looking for the wrong signs, Reyes suggested. Or perhaps other species have hidden their true capabilities as well. The comet hung between them, a possibility that clearly disturbed the Archan commander. My orders were to ensure Earth's integration into the Dominion, Vorex said finally. Those orders now appear impractical. I suggest a new approach, Reyes offered. Return to your council. Tell them what you've seen. Explain that humanity seeks cooperation, not subjugation. We'll keep your emissary comfortable until you return with their response. After a long pause, Vorex nodded. I will convey your proposal. But understand this, Admiral, in all its history, the Dominion has never treated with a species as an equal. Then perhaps it's time for history to change, Reyes replied. 1 month later, President Alvarez stood on the observation deck of Lunar Colony Alpha, watching as the Archan diplomatic fleet, a much larger and more impressive assemblage than the original integration mission, approached Earth orbit. They're right on schedule, noted General Y beside her. The Council must have taken our demonstration seriously. 17,000 years of unchallenged superiority. Alvarez mused. I imagine it was quite a shock to discover a species that had developed in secret. Dr. Okafor joined them, data tablet in hand. Our intelligence indicates significant debate within the Dominion hierarchy. Some factions advocated for a full military response, but pragmatism prevailed. They had brought their top scientists and engineers along with the diplomats. Curious to see how we did it. Alvarez nodded. Natural, I suppose. What happens now? Wei asked. Alvarez turned from the viewport to face her advisors. Now we navigate uncharted territory. The Archans have never had to negotiate as equals. We've never had to deal with an interstellar civilization. Both sides will need to adapt. And the other species under Archan control? Okafor asked. Once word spreads of what happened here. Change rarely comes without disruption, Alvarez acknowledged. But perhaps this will lead to something better than the Dominion's version of peace through submission. On the main screen, High Emissary Tarek's ship docked with the lunar station. This time, he would be greeted not by a seemingly primitive civilization grateful for attention, but by a technological equal ready to forge a new kind of relationship. One thing is certain, Alvarez said as they prepared to meet the Archan delegation. The galaxy will never be the same after today. As humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, the stars seemed closer than ever before, not just physically within reach thanks to the gravitational inversion drive, but politically and culturally as well. The deception was over. the truth was revealed. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, other civilizations would soon learn that humanity had arrived, not as subjects, but as equals ready to shape the future of the galaxy.